Good evening. I'm Charlie Denner, and this is BNN Nightly News. We're here on a Thursday night to reopen the murder case of Emmett Till. In 1955, the 14-year-old boy from Chicago was brutally murdered by Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam in Greenwood, Mississippi. The book, Mississippi Trial, 1955, was written to tell this horrific story. Now, we join Jacob at the Tallahatchie County Courthouse in Sumner, Mississippi.
Charlie, I am here at the Tallahatchie Courthouse in Sumner, Mississippi, reporting on the site. At the first in the story, it starts out in Happy Greenwood, Mississippi, Hiram thinks. This is a real place, according to Google Maps. Where I am right now is actually a real place, too. EmmettTillMurder.com says it here. The trial took place at the Tallahatchie Courthouse. Back to you, Charlie.
Now, just to remind you, this story takes place in the South, where racism is at its peak. According to page 124 of Mississippi Trial, 1955, before we know it, the NAACP and all those bleeding heart Northerners are going to use this as another excuse for integration. This is what Grandpa says on page 124. This shows how the people who are racist in the South were so opposed to rejection of their ways from the North. We now go to Mr. Snuffleupagus, who's interviewing Chris Crow.
Thanks, Charlie. I'm here to ask Chris Crow some questions for the book. Can you tell me how you came up with the character Hiram and why you included him?
Well, I included Hiram into the book, even though he was fake, to show how, even in that time period, they still had people who think people from the same minority and the same skin color are all the same.
Okay. Was Grandpa made to create the prejudice community of Mississippi at the time?
Yes, I created him to show how rude people in the South can be. He was in the White Citizens Council, too, which is a real place, or a real council, and it was made in Greenwood, Mississippi, where the book is
Do you
made.
think that writing this book will stop the racism throughout the world?
I believe it might stop some people from being racist, but I think it'll linger on for a while.
Are all the places in the book real?
Well, most of the things in the book are real, except for Hiram's house, R.C.'s house, and some other little tiny places that aren't that big of a part of the book.
So why did you write this book, Chris?
Well, I wrote this book to show in that time period how racist some people in the South were. Also to raise awareness of the death of Emmett Till, because I think it is a very overlooked and a very important topic.
Do you think that this event sparked the civil rights movement?
Yes, I believe it did, because some people started to notice how some white people would stop at nothing to put fear into the lives of people who weren't like them, and that made them, stand up.
Can you tell me about the rest of the characters you included in your novel?
Yes, I will. First, about R.C. I made him to show how belligerent some people were in the South. Next, I made Emmett Till. He is a teenager who has a little stutter and is naive about how some people in the South are. I made him as real as I could because he is a real character, as you know. I made Naomi to show how some little girls had to be a woman at young ages, or moms. Then Ruth Ann, a nice lady, but she was also a slave, but she was still really loyal to Grandpa. Then Bryant and Millam. They show how crazy and evil some people can be, where people would do the slightest thing, like a whistle, and they would want to kill them.
Can I hear about Hiram's dad?
Yeah, last Hiram's dad. He's not like all people in the South. He's not mean or anything, and he believes that everybody should be treated the same, like Hiram does. At first I was going to make the Remingtons like the people. When I went to Greenwood, I had people who lived next door to the house that I was staying in, and they were like the Remingtons. They were weird. Nobody really knew a lot about them, and they were quiet, and they just stayed in their house. I never saw them, but I took stories that I heard about them, and made them into the characters. At first I was going to have RC be the third man, but I wanted it to be Grandpa because in the middle of the story I had writer's block, and because I made that idea, I could go on further. And I had RC's name be RC because when I was in Greenwood, there were a lot of people who had their name with the first two initials, like their initials as the real name. And in my first draft, I did not have Naomi, but I added her because it seemed that Hiram and RC would be a lot nicer and more sensitive around her. And I added the scene when RC was attacking Emmett Till, with the fish, to show foreshadowing that Emmett was going to get hurt later on, and how mean RC could really be.
Thanks, Chris. Back to you, Charlie.
I got some of my information from Chris Crow, the author of Mississippi Trial 1955, from an email he sent my class in my segment where I was pretending to be Chris Crow.
Hi, this is Chloe, and she's going to tell us about the book.
Thanks, Charlie. Emmett Till was lynched because he allegedly whistled at Mrs. Bryant, the wife of a store owner. Greenwood is in fact a real town, according to Wikipedia.com. The White Citizens Council, the organization Hiram's grandpa works for, was founded there. According to Wikipedia, after the decision the Supreme Court made against Brown versus Board of Education, the White Citizens Council was formed to retaliate. Their leader was Robert Patterson. It was an organization like the KKK, but they were less violent. They used political and economic power to finish their goals. They had members in local offices and places of power. They could ruin people's lives, making them poor, or publicly humiliating him. I also want to talk about a very important thing in the civil rights movement. The Ku Klux Klan is a terrorist group focused on white supremacy. According to the Ku Klux Klan, a hooded brotherhood by Anne Heinrichs, the KKK was formed in 1856 by 6 former Confederate soldiers. Ku Klux comes from the Greek word for circle. They were a huge group who went on night rides to frighten African Americans, murdered people, and tried to keep everyone except white men from voting. They sent warnings like burning crosses and threatening letters. Then, if that didn't work, they tortured and lynched their victims. The KKK didn't target only black people. People from Jewish and Catholic faith, foreigners, labor union organizers, and women who wanted the right to vote. People who were immoral were also victims. This included women who were working or were divorced. After Emmett Till was murdered, his death made a lot of people come together. Over 250,000 people came to his funeral. He inspired Rosa Parks to start the bus boycott. And unintentionally, he was the person who sparked the Civil Rights Act.
Thank you, Chloe. We're here on The Extra Chat. We're going to be talking to Dr. E. Bile on the plot of Mississippi Trial 1955. Yes. So, Doctor, tell me about the plot.
I will, Charlie. So, thank you for having me on this amazing show, BNN. I've always loved this show. And now I'm finally here to talk about the plot of Mississippi Trial 1955. So, let's get into it. So, first, Hiram, the young boy, the main character, lives in Greenwood, Mississippi with his grandpa. He's about 8 years old, and they're having a good old time. And his grandpa is very rich and owns a cotton field. And they're very racist at the time. Grandpa no like young African Americans, but Hiram, he thinks they're okay. He thinks they're very nice. So then Hiram's dad makes him go back to Arizona with his family to live there. But Hiram wants to go see his grandpa again. So when he's 16, he goes back to Greenwood, Mississippi, and he meets a boy named Bobo. He's an African American, and his real name is Emmett Till, but they just call him Bobo. So, Hiram meets back up with his friend RC, who they were really good childhood friends, okay? And RC does not like African American boys. He hates them, okay? So get that in your head, okay? Got it. So they go fishing on the river, the Tallahatchie River, and they're having a good old time. Bobo's with his African American friends, all playing in the river, and they're fishing. And it's about lunchtime, and Hiram
asked Bobo if he wanted to eat with them while R.C. was asleep because he knew that R.C. did not like African American boys. So Bobo was going to get some food, and then R.C. woke up. And he was really mad at Hiram and Bobo for taking their lunch and giving away the lunch. So he tackled Bobo and took fish guts and shoved them right into Bobo's face and made him eat them. And on page 93, it said, R.C. said, "So, you weren't as hungry as you thought, were you, boy?" While Emmett was screaming and crying for help, but nobody would help him because everybody was scared of R.C. Hiram tried to make him stop, but not with physical violence, just with words, so that didn't really stop R.C. that much. Stop it, R.C., stop it! Yes, just like that. Yes. He's a little cuckoo, don't you know? But, then, you found out that Bobo whistled at a girl in the town money in Mississippi, right next to Greenwood, at a store. It was a white woman, and the white woman got really mad at Bobo because no African American should be whistling at a white person. At least that's what they thought in that time. So the lady got really mad, and she told her brother and her husband and his friend that they should go kill the boy. So they abducted the boy, and then they killed him and put him in the Tallahatchie River. And this is a real life event. Most of that stuff before is all fake, up to the part where he whistled and they got him to torture and kill Emmett Till was all real. So you found out that Emmett Till was dead, and so we know that Emmett Till is dead now, and Bryant and Milam killed him. They admitted to it, but then they go to a trial, and R.C. told Hiram that he was going to teach Emmett a lesson. But Hiram got really mad at R.C. but didn't say anything because he was scared that he was going to get hurt by R.C. But so he told the sheriff, and they said that Hiram had to appear at the trial to be a witness. So Hiram did, and so did his grandpa. And he told his grandpa, and his grandpa wasn't so mad that Emmett Till got killed. He was like, okay, but not really. Like, he wasn't super mad about it. He was like, yeah, they do that. Because, as you know, in the book, that Grandpa is in a council, and it's called the White Citizens Council, which people have already talked about in the show. But, it's the White Citizens Council started in Greenwood, Mississippi, which is completely true, and that's what it said in the book, so that is a completely true thing. So, talking more about the trial. So they get to the trial, and you'll find out that R.C. was not there at the trial. He was somewhere way else. And then you'll find out that he did not try to kill Emmett Till or kill Emmett Till. He was somewhere else because he was mad at his dad for getting drunk and beating him up. And you found out that his dad beat up R.C. So R.C. beat him up back, and they got really mad at each other. Yes, really mad. Okay, going on about that. So you know that R.C. did not. And then somebody said that they saw a blue truck, which is the truck that Grandpa has. Oh my goodness, this is like where the part gets really heated up, man. So you find out that Grandpa drove Bryant and Milam to Emmett's house. Moses Wright's house. And they picked up Emmett Till and they brought him. And then Bryant and Milam lied to Grandpa and just said, "Oh, we're done with him. We just want to teach him a little lesson." Grandpa just thought they were just going to torture him a little bit. But still, why would you let them torture him a little bit? I mean, what is wrong with this man? But he is in the White Citizens Council, so he doesn't like black people that much. But he still cared if they died. So, going on, you find out that Grandpa was really mad that they lied to him about how they were just going to torture him. And then Hiram and his dad
get really mad at Grandpa, but not like super mad. So then Hiram goes back to Arizona and doesn't really want to go back because of that whole horrible incident. And now the book is done. So thank you for having me, Charlie.
Thank you for your time, Doctor. And now, we're here on Extra Chat. I'm going to be talking to Dr. Watson, BNN's top historical analysis. So, we're going to be talking about the reaction and effect the Emmett Till murder trial had on America and the civil rights movement. As we know, it did inspire Rosa Parks to start the bus boycott.
Yes, that is true, Charlie. The Emmett Till case was a very, very big deal. There was over 250,000 people that came to Emmett's funeral. His mother wanted an open casket so America could see the awful things that had happened to him.
Yes, and I think, like you said, that she wanted an open casket to show not just that, because people knew, okay, these people killed him, but she wanted to show they tortured him to the brink of death before they killed him. And I think that's actually a very large part of the story because it shows how brutal they were with this torture and killing.
Yes. According to EmmettTillMurder.com, they pistol whipped him, which, if you didn't know, in the Army is a court-martial offense.
Indeed it is. So this obviously was a very big deal. So yeah, I mean, it obviously had a very big effect. If this hadn't happened, we could still have segregated schools today. Thanks.
Yep.
That concludes our broadcast on a Thursday night. We'll see you tomorrow for a special on Rosa Parks. Stick around for some bloopers. Until then, I'm Charlie Denner. Good night. Alright guys, are you filming? Guys, we need to do this. You're on, ladies.
Don't we? You got this.
Oh, that concludes our broadcast on a Thursday night. Stick around from some bloopers and we'll see you tomorrow for a special on Rosa Parks. Until then, I'm Charlie Denner. Good night. Maybe. Hey, what does CNN even stand for? It's something news network. Like, crappy news network.
That give us live.
Were you recording? He was.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my gosh!
But,
we gotta keep
oh yeah. Party time! Yeah, party!